Hey guys, welcome back. I've been gone a few days, and if you can tell by my voice, I was ill. Or actually, I won't say ill, but I lost my voice. So we're back, and we are starting with chapter 14 in Genesis. It says, "And it came to be in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar." Now remember in chapter 10, Shinar is the area before the Tower of Babel and where the Tower of Babel takes place. So this name means one sayer of darkness or dark sayings. I would suggest that this is possibly and probably Nimrod. So you have Nimrod who did not leave the area, and he's listed with four kings who are all in the Babylonian, Mesopotamia, Euphrates River area. It says that there's also the king of Elam, that's Persia. So there is Iran. And then you have Taldal, which is the king of the Goyim. And Goyim means like the nations. So again, these are four kings that are all coming from the Mesopotamia area. And they have had rulership over those who are in, we'll see, there are five kings in verse 2, and they are all in the Jordan, what we know now as the Dead Sea, Israel, that part. That's where they are. They are in, Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Many of you have heard of that before. So we have four kings and five kings that are going to go to battle. You know, this could be seen, again, since we have bookends, this could be seen as a picture of possibly the big battle in the end, right? What's the battle in the end? The battle in the end with Messiah really has a lot to do with fighting the leadership and also fighting over the idea of souls. And we kind of see that here. There's been this rulership of, I can't say it, but it's, let's see, Kedorlaomer. I am gutting that. I'm so sorry. Anyway, let's go down to verse 3, 14:3. All these joined together in the valley of Shittim. That is the Salt Sea. So this is talking about the Dead Sea area, which is, let's see, from Jerusalem you go down, obviously, and you go down towards the east. And so these kings who are coming from Babel area are traveling west. Now it says that they all meet in the valley of Shittim, which again is the Dead Sea. It says in verse 4, 12 years they served, I can't say it, Kedorlaomer, and on the 13th year they rebelled. So I think it's interesting that Nimrod and those around him, right? So this is the king of Persia that they're serving, and so we have Nimrod and the others coming to support them. But from far away, think about Iran, and they're ruling those who are in the valley. Those who are in the Dead Sea area. That's a long way to extend your reach and your power. Yet they were ruling from that far. Let's remember, we don't know how many years after the Tower of Babel this is, but we know it has to be within a certain range. We remember that Abram was around in his 50s when Tower of Babel happened. We know at 75 he's called out from Ur Chaldean, and then by age 86 he's going to have not give birth, but yeah, he's going to have with Hagar, he will be having Ishmael. So it has to be within these years. And so we go down and we look at verse 5. It says, in the 14th year, Kedorlaomer, the king, I cannot say that, I'm sorry. The king and the kings that were with him came and struck the Rephaim. I can't say these either. Mine's in Hebrew, so you guys look at your Bibles, verse 5, and you can read that. And then in verse 6 it says, and the Horites in the mountain of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. Okay, so let's kind of get an idea of what's going on. We have these 4 kings who are traveling west from, first from Persia, then I guess picks up the other kings in the valley, in the Euphrates, and then they head on over. They're traveling, and as they're traveling, they come across the Rephaim, the Zuzim, the Emites, the Horites. What's interesting is all these are considered to be Nephilim, or at least to have the Nephilim in these troops, or in these tribes. So this tells us that there's already been a pollution, there's already been a return of the fallen angels who have infiltrated these areas. We know in chapter 10 that these are all under the Cain line. It does say that the Zuzim in Ham, meaning they're in that territory. So as they're coming across to go to fight the Sodom and Gomorrah area, these 4 kings are showing their power. They're not just taking out kings of the people, they're taking out the giants as well. Now, why is that relevant? Because let's remember back in chapter 10, we have Nimrod who says he became a mighty man and was a hunter of souls, a hunter of people, a great mighty hunter, right? And it's thought that meant that he was a hunter of souls. Well, if that's the case and he became mighty, that gives a hint that he was changing himself, right? Now remember, before the flood, there was the problem of a DNA issue, right? There was a problem that Noah was seen as DNA perfect, as well as he walked with the Lord. He also had not polluted his own body. So I would suggest that before the Tower of Babel, one of the things we had, and maybe it was after the Tower of Babel, but Nimrod is not good. It would be interesting if the comment in chapter 10 that says Nimrod became a mighty man, that it was a process. It would be interesting if it was after the Tower of Babel. Wouldn't it be interesting if they did create that Stargate? If they did, through their actions, invite those, the Walking Dead. They invited those to come back. They invited the fallen angels to return. Just like Adam gave way for Satan to come in. Wouldn't it be interesting if Nimrod gave way, and Nimrod's oneness with everyone building that ziggurat, if they gave way to allow those angels to come back into the recreation of the earth? Just a thought. But again, we see them defeating these giants. I'm sure that had quite a bit of I'm sure that news came before them, so that as these other 5 kings are hearing it, they're kind of freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, they're killing giants on the way. Oh, this is crazy. Now, I love the way the Lord uses this, because the Lord is using the enemy. He's allowing those who aren't walking in his ways, who are still in the area that they were told to scatter from. He's going to use them to take out these fallen ones, or these Nephilim who have reemerged. Again, all this is in loving kindness for Abraham, because Abram is in the area also. This is promised to be his land. Let's look at verse 7. And they turned back and came to En Mishpah, that is Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in, I can't say it, in the area. That's around, considered to be around the Judah area. So not far from where they were going. Let's talk about the Amorites first because I can say that one. The Amorites, what's wrong with my brain? The Amorites we're going to see in chapter 15, is going to be the sin of the Amorites that has to be fulfilled, has to come to its completeness before the Lord brings Abraham's seed, Abram and his children's seed are back into the land, okay? When Israel returns, it's because the sin of the Amorites will be complete. I believe that by these kings going and killing them in that area, that was, the Lord was doing that so that their time would be a little longer before they reach that sin. Amalekites, that's really close. They are the ones that are going to be the first to attack Israel when they come out of the land in Exodus. And yet here we have these kings striking them. Again, I would suggest putting a little damper on their growth. I guess stunning their growth so that they don't get to the area or the strength that they're supposed to get to until the proper time. So, just like Nebuchadnezzar, the Lord will use enemies for his purpose. And I really think we're seeing that here. So let's look in verse 8. It says, and the kings of Sodom and the kings of Amorah and the kings of the other places, I can't say. It doesn't say that, obviously, but if you look at your Bible, you can see what it says. It says they went out and joined together in battle in the valley of Shittim. So, we've got 5 verses 4. So, here come these mighty kings from the west, right? They're coming over. They are strong. They have rumors coming before them saying they killed the giants. Yet these kings are like, we're defending our land. They want freedom. I mean, is that not a continuous cry of the world? Freedom from oppression, freedom from the heavy hand of other rulers. That's exactly what they want. They want out from underneath this king who lives in Persia. And so it says in verse 9, it tells how they fight again with the 4. It's the 4 kings against the 5. Verse 10. And the valley of Shittim had many tar pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food and went away. Okay, they basically are like, oh yeah, you're not going to follow it. You're not going to be our people. Fine, then you don't deserve anything that you have, and they take it. They don't just come in to kill the kings. They want to ravage the entire towns, the whole villages. So they take not only the goods, but they take their food also. For whoever remains behind who's run to the mountains, they'll have nothing when they come back. All their reserves are gone. They won't even have the dependency that they once had upon themselves. And you know, we don't know, were those things purchased by the king's money? Was that from their work? We don't know that. But we know that this king decides that they're going to take it. These kings, these 4 kings from the west. It says here that the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell in the tar pits. Now, that does not mean that they died there. They basically just fell in the area. Does that mean they fell into a pit? I don't know. I'm sure that would be an interesting look. They came out all tarry and muddy. Tar pits are very hot. I would think if they fell in, it would have killed them. I'm assuming it just means in that area they fell. So let's look at verse 12. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and left. All right. Here we know that they're taking souls. They're taking people. All right. They're going to take the women of the men they kill, and they're going to take a few men, apparently. This says to me, did Lot go out to fight? Did he try to defend? Did he give up? I don't know, but they got him, okay? And they took all of his things. Remember, he has great wealth, and they take it. It says in verse 13, and one who had escaped came and informed Abram, the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth tree of Mamre. the terebinth tree of Mamre, the Amorite. So right here, this is telling us Mamre is the name of an Amorite. So the place is named after this man. It says the brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and they had a covenant with Abram. This is really interesting. Here's why. Abram has an agreement with an Amorite. Let's talk about what a covenant looks like real quick, and then we will end this part of the discussion until next time. When a covenant is made, that would mean that two people, so right here you would have the Amorite, Mamre, and you would have Abram. And what they would do is they would take animals and they would cut them in half. And then they would walk through them in like a figure 8 type of arrangement. And blood would get on the bottom of their robes. And their agreement was, okay, if I betray you, then the blood that is on my robe represents what I have a right to do to your family. And the same, if Abram does wrong to the Amorite, then likewise, then that blood that's on his robe represents the blood that he will require from Abram and his family. Then after that happens, they would go and they would eat. They would have dinner together. And that would be the sealing of the covenant, of the agreement. So they go into covenant. I also find it interesting because well, these are Canaanites. These are Canaanites. Yet Abram goes into covenant with them. This is going to have a lot of meaning when we move on and look at chapter 15, where it talks about the sin of the Amorite being fulfilled. It also is going to create a real problem for when the Amorites come and attack Israel, because they will be breaking a covenant, which requires the blood of the people because of the breaking of that covenant. So just things to hold on in the back of your mind to understand. Also, with them having this covenant, we're going to see that Abram does buy the land of Mamre, the Amorite, later on. And I believe a part of that reason is because he did go into covenant with him. And therefore, well, that's the choice land. That's where he's living. He's living in the area next to this man. Again, the Lord has already told him, look everywhere. All this is yours. So he knows this is one day going to be his. But you notice he doesn't insist. Even though he has a promise, he doesn't insist and say, well, this is all mine anyway. That's not how he treats it. He respects the man who has it, and he lives among them because the Lord has told him he's going to be a sojourner. All right. So we're going to end on that, and we will pick up on verse 14 when we come back. Thank you so much. Thanks for bearing with my strained voice, and I hope it's been okay as far as clarity, and you've been able to understand me. So y'all have a great time, great day. Thanks for spending your time with me. Bye.